What are you ding dong diddly doing there, gamerinos? Hope you're having a flanderific day. Before we start this, I was kind of thinking I might want to build like a giant church somewhere in the world, but I'm not too sure where I would put it, so I mean, maybe it could go right here. I'd want it to have like a nice view. This feels a little random to have it like kind of over here, but at the same time it feels like it would work. I don't know, maybe too little a space. Wouldn't be that grand. This also seems like a nice space, but once again, it's kind of up out of the way. It's like that. There's the road. I'm not sure. Really not sure. Anyway, I guess while I'm kind of running around and maybe looking for a nice spot, I got further. Oh, that's an awful spot. I got further in. Oh no, I'm out of rockets. In the Bible, I got to. Damn, what book did I get to? Oh, I got to the book of First Kings. And some wild shit happens in 2nd Samuel and the beginning of First Kings. So, like, I don't know, I guess this is kind of a spoiler. Because, like, we are going to read it one day on the channel, but whatever. I do what I want. So, apparently one of King David's sons just, like... There's not really a delicate way to put this, so I'm just going to put this. Incestually rapes his sister. And her full brother, because I guess that was her half brother, did the nasty. Her full brother was kind of like, oh, just chill out, just chill out, was kind of his response. And then 2 years later, he ends up killing him, and it turns into a whole ordeal, and then it turns into like a civil war, essentially. But yeah, some wild shit. And then his name is Absalom, the one that like killed the one brother and was the dude who's like, oh, chill out, and started the civil war. So he goes and like has relations with King David's like concubines, and it's like, oh, okay, that's real fucking weird. I don't understand why there's so much like fucking incest and like weird shit going on. Like, I understand it's a fallen world, but why specifically incest? Why specifically? All right, it's super weird, and it happens a lot, like a lot, like way more than it absolutely should be happening, which is never. Or you know what? I'll say that it makes sense for it to happen in like Genesis, and like maybe a little bit into Exodus. All right, but like after that, nah, that's weird. It's nasty. It's weird. It's gross. Like, please don't do that. Maybe I will put a church here. I mean, I don't... I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be a church next to a house. I don't know. We'll think about it. I've got something else I kind of also want to build too, and I'm not sure where that's gonna go, but that's gonna be epic. Let me just tell you right now, because I've already picked it out and I know what it's gonna look like, and I just don't know where it's gonna go. I'll just say it's very on theme with the giant ass American flag. Like very on theme. Oh, look at that, it's beautiful. Yeah, and then Solomon ends up, well, there's just a bunch of weird shit that happens. Like, so David's like, oh yeah, there's this dude who's cursing me, and like, I'm not gonna kill him. Like, I've told my men not to kill this dude, right? And then there's like, essentially a general he has that's going around and like killing a bunch of people basically, and David is just like, yeah, you need to kill both of these people. Like, oh, okay, all right, that came out of left field, but okay, I suppose it makes sense, because like the one guy's like literally killing people, and the other dude I guess could start another rebellion, and you know, fine, whatever, that makes sense. That I guess you'd want him gone and out of the picture. But then, so Solomon's brother, one of the ones that actually is still alive, so apparently a bunch of David's kids either died or just are never mentioned again. So like his firstborn was the one that ended up getting killed by Absalom, and then the secondborn is just like never talked about again, like ever. And then the third one is Absalom, and then after him there's another guy, and then I want to say there's like two other ones that just you never hear of again, and then there's Solomon. So the one that you would think, that fourthborn, you would think would take the throne, because like line of succession and all of that, is basically told, yeah, well, Solomon's gonna be king anyway, so... And he's like, okay, alright, fine, whatever, you know. That's Q, I guess I'm not gonna be king. So then he asks to marry, again, more of this weird, I guess it's not super incesty, but it's like, it's weird. It's weird that this request would be made. But he asks to marry one of David's, like, concubines, right? And I guess in olden times that gave you, like, a right to the throne or something. Which okay. I don't understand how that quite works, but that's what I have been told. Is that gave you, like, a claim to the throne. So then Solomon's just like, oh, and you're dead. You're dead. So just wild book. Real wild. Like all sorts of crazy shit happens. And it's like, I don't understand why so much incest. I don't get it. Like, here's a perfect example. David and Bathsheba. Like, that was evil, right? Like, that's a pretty bad sin, you know? Like, he goes and bangs his friend's wife, knocks her up, and then sends him to go get killed out in the battlefield. And it's like, yeah, that's evil, that's wrong. But like, I appreciate that it's not incest. There's just so much incest. It's like, why? Why did this happen? Why? Stop it. Get some help. Like, it's nasty. Like, I'm a little, like, over reading, right? And then some nasty incest bit comes. I'm just kind of over that, you know? I want it to be all, like, you know, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Or at least, like, this is bad, but it's not, like, disgusting. Like, it's not making me, like do a ugh, you know? Again, banging your friend's wife, knocking her up, and then getting him killed. That's bad. That's evil. That's wrong. But it doesn't make me go, ugh. You know? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Whatever. Well, I hope it's not just me that's like, grossed out by that. I really hope it's not just me. Because I don't think I want to live in that world. where that's okay. I guess I shouldn't go to fucking Kentucky, alright? Guess I shouldn't go to Kentucky. Yeah, let's go ahead and watch some videos now. What a transition. What a transition. Totally amazing and great. Actually, I feel like there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, actually a couple of interesting things. So, in 2 Samuel, yes, it would be 2 Samuel, David, David is escaping, oh, that was already gone, alright, cool. David is escaping Absalom, right? So Absalom's in the middle of the civil war, and he goes and he starts, like, crying, like, weeping on this mountain. And I was like, that mountain sounds familiar. So I looked it up. And yes, it is the same Mount of Olives that Jesus would end up weeping at in the book of Luke. I was like, that's kind of like a really interesting, like, factoid, I guess. Or like, you would say coincidence, but it's probably not a coincidence, you know. But just, again, a cool little detail. And it's also cool because, well, something else that's cool, I should say, is that David calls himself a son of God, which is kind of like very New Testament. Yeah, no, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll watch the video, because I'm not, well, videos, I've got like 3 of them, because I'm not too sure where, oh, whoa, the flower is reflecting in the water. That is amazing. This is a very ADHD stream here. I apologize, but that is so cool. Yeah, they knocked it out of the park with this lighting update. It's incredible. Do I reflect in the water? That would be cool. No. No, I don't reflect in the water. That's upsetting. So I guess I just don't feel like watching these videos. I don't know. I don't know. Because I appear to be procrastinating a lot. Honestly, I thought about making that the stream. Not procrastinating, of course. But I thought about making the stream just, we're going to build a church. But I was like, well, thematically, I guess it would work. I don't think it would properly be a Southern Fried Conviction episode. It would be more of a Minecraft episode if I were to do that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I talked about the Bible while I built it, maybe I might be able to pull that off. I don't know. Whatever. Let's just get into the video. Oh, actually, before we get into the video, let me find a good place for us to AFK so that we can have some kind of something to watch whilst we listen. I think last time we did the iron farm, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll go ahead and we'll do the drowned farm. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was thinking that might also be something kind of cool. Like if we build a church, we can make like a little like treasure room in it, I guess you could say. Like treasures for God, I guess. Like we could have a bunch of gold and like diamonds and like copper and iron and like a bunch of shit like that. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Alright. So this first video is by Testify, of course. Actually, all three of these videos are by Testify. So this first one is Yes, Tacitus mentions the historical Jesus. Or actually, you know what? Since two of these are kind of similar, I'm going to sandwich this. That was going to be the second one we'll watch. The first one we're going to watch is John's Gospel Proves Reliable. Mecca's history doesn't exist.
Everyone's been coming up to me recently.
You've probably heard Muslims say that the Gospel of John is late, exaggerated, and full of legendary fluff, while claiming the Quran and Islamic traditions are historically rock solid. But a closer look reveals the exact opposite. Muslims believe Mecca is Islam's holiest city, yet the Quran explicitly names it just once. Sure, they claim indirect references like Bakka or mother of cities, but that's rather vague. Islamic traditions go way further. Abu al-Walid Azraqi, writing about 230 years after Muhammad, said the Kaaba existed 40 years before Allah created Earth, Adam made Hajj, and Abraham chose Mecca's location from heaven with angelic help. Historian Patricia Crone wasn't buying it. She points out glaring issues. Mecca, supposedly a key trade hub, doesn't even appear on 6th and 7th century maps. Byzantine, Persian, Greek, Latin, Syriac, Aramaic, and Coptic records are all silent about Mecca and Muhammad's Quraysh tribe. If Mecca was so bustling, why was it invisible outside Islamic sources for 2 whole centuries? Yet nearby, less important towns like Yathrib, Khaybar, Mamre, and even distant Petra are well documented. But Mecca, complete silence. Crony points out another glaring problem: trade routes. Why would traders abandon the easy coastal Red Sea route for a pointless hundreds of mile dangerous detour inland through barren deserts to visit Mecca, the city nobody else seemed to know existed? Crony labels Mecca's historical claims as pure fabrications, designed more for theological prestige than historical accuracy. And things get even more wild. Archaeologist Dan Gibson spent decades studying the Qibla, the direction that Muslims pray. Shockingly, he found the earliest Islamic mosques don't even point to Mecca at all. Instead, dozens of them, built with pinpoint accuracy, face Petra in modern-day Jordan. Not Mecca, but Petra. Even the Quran paints a bizarre picture, describing Muhammad's opponents as growers of wheat, grapes, olives, and dates. Seriously, Mecca's rocky desert couldn't grow these Mediterranean staples, as Crone bluntly points out. This strongly suggests the Quran's real location wasn't Mecca, but somewhere closer to the Mediterranean, where these crops actually thrived. Muslims will proudly point to the miraculous Zamzam well, claiming it's divinely supplied and inexhaustible. But today, that miracle is entirely propped up by desalination plants built by the West. Historically...
So I will say, well, a couple of things here. One, this is important just in case, like, you ever have to defend your faith. It's always good to, like, know about other religions. Second off, that's absolutely correct. The Mecca is in the literally in the middle of the desert, and it's highly unlikely that any serious trade was done there until it became the Islamic holy place. Thirdly, I do want to say it is maybe plausible. Well, no. No, never mind. No. I stand corrected. I was going to try giving them the benefit of the doubt on this one, that they could grow all of that stuff there, because the climate of the Middle East used to be very different. But that was a very long time ago. Now that I'm thinking about it, I believe that was probably around the time of might have been before Mesopotamia, was the civilization. A lot of North Africa and the Middle East used to be very green, because it received more rainfall, and it was a more jungly area, you could say. But then, weather patterns shifted, climates changed, and again, you know what? I gotta get up on my soapbox here for a minute. Climates change. That is a fact. Climates have always changed. So going around and saying that oh, humans are causing climate changes, it's dumb. It's dumb. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. It's dumb. Climates are always changing. It's what they do. Are you telling me that the Mesopotamians or the pre-Mesopotamians were creating greenhouse gases that destroyed the once lush ecosystems of North Africa and the Middle East, turning them to deserts? Is that your argument? Okay, I got you. But yeah, no, I don't actually think that they would have been able to grow all of that, now that I'm thinking about it. Let's continue on.
Mecca's water shortage was so severe that Queen Zubaydah commissioned a massive aqueduct just to support pilgrimage traffic. Despite grand claims, Mecca's chronic lack of water and historical silence cast serious doubt on its supposed importance. And speaking of places with real history, while Islamic tradition struggles to prove Now, back to actual history. Let's contrast this fiasco with the Gospel of John, often ridiculed by Muslim polemicists as legendary. Unlike the sketchy history of Mecca, John's author nails minor geographic details effortlessly. When people leave Cana for Capernaum, John casually says that they're going down, precisely matching the actual elevation change. John correctly places Bethany near Jerusalem and accurately gives its distance as 15 furlongs, about 2 miles, from the city, exactly matching geography today. He gets the width of the Sea of Galilee exactly right, describing it as 3 to 4 miles across, precisely aligning with modern measurements. He also accurately pinpoints Jerusalem's Pool of Siloam and the Pool of Bethesda, carefully noting Bethesda had 5 covered colonnades, an architectural detail that has been perfectly confirmed by archaeology nearly 2,000 years later. Even the seemingly minor detail of Jesus walking in Solomon's colonnade fits perfectly. This covered walkway historically provided ideal protection from cold winter winds, exactly as John described. Notably, this precise location is where Jesus made the bold declaration, "I and my Father are one." John's Gospel nails small, verifiable details with ease. Meanwhile, the Quran and Islamic tradition fumble major historical and geographical claims about their holiest city. The more we investigate, the clearer it gets. John knew first century Judea inside and out, while Islamic tradition struggles to prove Mecca even existed in Muhammad's time.
Yeah, no, it's really cool.
It isn't all that shocking.
Yeah, it's really cool, all of those little details the Bible gets right. Again, it's very good supporting evidence that what they're saying is biographical, or would it be autobiographical? Not just, well, I mean, I guess biographical in the case of Luke. Well, whatever, doesn't matter. Um, that it was like actually real events happening by people who either were directly there or had firsthand knowledge. This is, yes, Tacitus mentions the historical Jesus.
Marking that Christian texts are our primary source about Christian origins. After all, baseball fans tend to write about baseball history, and American history buffs tend to write about American history. But what does come as a surprise is that we can learn a fair bit about Jesus from early non-Christian sources, and one of those sources is the Roman historian Tacitus. Now, who exactly was Tacitus? Well, he was born in 56 AD, and he served as a consul in Rome in 97, and a proconsul of Roman Asia in 112 through 113. He was a famed orator and historian, and his works, Annals and Histories, give us a ton of insight into Roman politics and history. The Oxford Companion to Classical Literature calls Tacitus one of the greatest historians of all time, and his Annals dates back from the time of Caesar Augustus all the way through Nero. Now, when Tacitus was 8 years old, there was a massive fire in Rome that left thousands of people homeless. Some said that the Emperor Nero himself was responsible for the fire, but he scapegoated the Christians in Rome for starting it. Tacitus would have the ability to talk to adults about its events and have access to many of Rome's official records. So we have very good reason to think that what he reports is reliable. So what exactly does Tacitus say about Jesus? Here's what he wrote. Consequently, to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at one of the hands of our procurators, Pontius Pilate, and a most mischievous superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world find their center and become popular. Accordingly, an arrest was first made of all those who pled guilty. Then, upon their information, an immense multitude was convicted, not so much of crime of firing the city, as of hatred against mankind. So what do we learn about Jesus from reading Tacitus? We can establish a couple of facts. For starters, he pins down the timing of Jesus' death. Tacitus says that it happened while Tiberius was emperor, and we know that was between 14 and 37 AD. He also tells us that it happened when Pilate was in charge of Judea, which was between 26 and 36 AD. So he gives us an approximate fixed point for when Christianity started. Besides being helpful chronologically, Tacitus gives us some
That is really cool, and it totally lines up with everything that the Bible says, so.
valuable geographical information. He says that the superstition named after Christ started in Judea and made its way to Rome. By the time of the fire in 64 AD, there was a vast multitude of believers in Rome. So to provide context, that's a distance of 1,430 miles as the crow flies, greater than the distance between New York City to Havana, Cuba. So the rapid spread of Christianity in such a short time is a big deal, because some critics say that the idea that Jesus was the Messiah and resurrected from the dead is a myth that grew with the telling, kind of like the telephone game. But the more widespread the belief, the harder it would be to change its core message, especially in the face of great persecution. And the idea that the core beliefs rose decades later doesn't really explain why it proved to be very popular in the first place. But not everybody agrees that Tacitus wrote about Jesus or gives us any historical information about Jesus. A group of fringe scholars known as the Jesus mythicists raise four main objections to the reliability of Tacitus. Number one, couldn't Tacitus be an interpolation by Christian scribes? Well, I find this to be very doubtful that Christians would have forged or altered Tacitus' original text. First, we need to remember that it was Christian scribes who transcribed nearly all Greek and Latin literature from the classical period to the Middle Ages. They didn't shy away from preserving references to Greek and Roman gods and other religious ideas which they disagreed, so Christian copying doesn't equal Christian interpolation. Second, it's very unlikely that a Christian scribe would refer to Christianity as a superstition that encourages hatred of all mankind. A Christian interpolator would have definitely softened the language, and they probably would have at least...
Yeah, you, you would think if you were trying to use this as evidence that, like if you're making this up and you wanted to, like, alright, for example, like, if I wanted to say that, I don't know, my religion of Minecraft, that's the name of the religion, was real. I wouldn't say that, it encourages hatred and is just foul and horrible and everything. Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
To the resurrection, as we saw with some of the Christian interpolations in Josephus. Also, the passage would have very little value for Christian apologists arguing with pagans in the 2nd or 3rd century, so the fact that Justin Martyr or Tertullian don't quote it really isn't a very good argument. Third, the passage fits very well within its context and is the necessary conclusion to the entire treatment of Rome's burning. And finally, Tacitus had a very unique style of Latin, part of what historians commonly call Silver Latin. As I'm sure you're aware, languages evolved throughout the centuries. Silver Latin got its name to set it apart from the Golden Latin from the time of Cicero. Medieval scribes would have used medieval Latin, and they wouldn't have been aware of the differences between their own version of Latin and Tacitus's. As classicist Norma Miller remarks, well-intentioned pagan glossers of ancient texts do not normally express themselves in Tacitian Latin. You could say the same thing about Christian scribes. The only reason for mythicists to argue that this is a Christian interpolation is because they don't want to think that there are any references to Jesus in the early sources outside of the New Testament. But as agnostic New Testament scholar Bart Ehrman quips, surely the best way to deal with evidence is not to simply dismiss it when it happens to be inconvenient. Number 2, the use of an anachronistic title. Tacitus calls Pilate a procurator when we know from an ancient inscription that the official term was prefect. So clearly this shows that Tacitus was a bit clueless, right? Yes, it is true that we have the Pilate stone that was discovered in Caesarea Maritima that gives us the title prefect, but Josephus and Philo both call him procurator. Josephus at times uses the two terms interchangeably, so there was a fluid use of the two terms at the time. I don't think this is a very good reason to doubt Tacitus at all. Number 3, did Tacitus rely on hearsay? Tacitus refers to the founder of the Christian movement as Christus, and that's just a title. That's not saying that it was Jesus. So this supposedly suggests that Tacitus was dependent on popular Christian myths rather than reliable, independent information. But in the context, the passage is concerned with Christians, not about Jesus per se. He mentions the term Christ to explain the origin of the term Christians. Using the name Jesus would probably be confusing to his audience. Also, Tacitus is very well known for checking his sources, and considering that the passage's subject is an official action taken by a Roman emperor, Tacitus would have every reason to be extra careful. Thirdly, Tacitus shows a consistent concern with the happenings of members of the royal court. There is indication that several royal family members became members of the so-called Christian cult. In the late 90s, Domitian's niece Domitilla and her husband Fabius Clemens were accused of atheism and being carried away into Jewish customs. These are the same things members of the early church were being accused of, so this possibly explains why Tacitus would speak so bitterly about the pernicious superstition of Christianity. Finally, we can rule out where Tacitus didn't get his information. It definitely wasn't the New Testament. Scholar Robert Van Voorst writes, "No literary or oral dependence can be demonstrated between his description and the gospel accounts. The wording is too different. The only commonality is the name Pontius Pilate, which could easily come from elsewhere. Nor did Tacitus likely draw his information from another Christian document if his contempt for Christianity is any indication. Second, Tacitus does not seem to have drawn from general hearsay." Number 4, would Tacitus have access to official documents? Some ethicists have argued that Tacitus didn't have access to the official Roman archives, nor would he have been motivated enough to even check. Well, for starters, Tacitus held several government posts, as we talked about earlier. He was also friends with Pliny the Younger, who was the governor of Bithynia, and married to the daughter of Britain's governor. He was a very connected guy, so if anyone would have had access to court documents, it definitely would have been Tacitus. We also know that he had access to the Roman Senate's archives because he cites them twice. Any official communications about Jesus' crucifixion probably would have been found in the archives. So let's sum up a little bit. When you consider the facts, Tacitus teaches us a lot about Jesus. He's a very important source. His report shows us when Jesus died, who had him executed, how far his following spread, and that people were willing to die for their faith in him. Tacitus's report provides solid, independent, non-Christian evidence for the existence, death, and influence of Jesus.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward there. Not a whole lot to talk about there. Sorry, I'm replying to a comment right now. He says, Tacitus writes about Jesus over 80 years after his supposed death, and the person he gives attribution to, that I don't think that's grammatically correct, is Pilate, who never mentions Jesus. Y'all really think a man was walking around raising dead people, and would not be extensively sought after, studied, and written about? You guys are hilarious. This has to be a joke. I mean, there's no way you guys are being serious. So I'm basically saying if they didn't believe him, they wouldn't seek after him nor study him. For example, you heard the stories of Jesus, and you are not seeking after him or trying to learn more about him. Alright, let's get on to our last video.
How can you be a
Alright, this one is how to be a better Muslim. Stop saying Muhammad did miracles.
better Muslim? Quran 4:174 says, O humanity, there has come to you conclusive evidence from your Lord, and we have sent down to you a brilliant light. The Quran is an explanation of all things, a guidance, a mercy, and good news to those who fully submit. How can Muslims fully submit to the Quran? How can Muslims show complete obedience to the commands of Allah revealed to Muhammad? What commands in the Quran are sometimes overlooked? Let's read the Quran to see how you can be a better Muslim today. One way you can become a better Muslim is to stop saying that Muhammad did miracles. Muslims sometimes claim that Muhammad did miracles, but this disobeys the Quran. Quran 637, and they say, why has not a sign been sent down to him from his Lord? Say, indeed, Allah is able to send out a sign, but most of them do not know. Quran 7:203, and when you, O Muhammad, did not bring them a sign, they say, why have you not contrived it? Say, I only follow what is revealed to me from my Lord. This Quran is enlightenment from your Lord and guidance and mercy for a people who believe. Quran 13:7, and those who disbelieve say, why has a sign not been sent down to him from his Lord? You are only a warner, and for every people is a guide. Quran 17:59, and nothing has prevented us from sending signs down except that the former peoples denied them. Quran 29:50 through 51, but they say, why are not signs sent down to him from his Lord? Say, the signs are only with Allah, and I am only a clear warner. And is it not sufficient for them that we reveal to you the book which is recited to them? Indeed, in that is a mercy and a reminder for a people who believe. So, the Quran repeatedly states that Muhammad did no miracles. The Quran nowhere says that Muhammad did a miracle. Indeed, if he did, it would contradict these verses. Muhammad is only a warner and was only sent the book. The Quran says, is it not sufficient for them that we reveal to you the book? When you say that Muhammad did miracles, like splitting the moon, you are saying it is not sufficient. You're questioning the Quran. You're questioning the wisdom of Allah. You are asking for more than Allah gave. You are disbelieving. Wrong. You must submit. Do you think that you're smarter than Allah? Sure, previous prophets were granted miracles by Allah. Moses parted the Red Sea. Elijah raised the dead. Elisha healed leprosy. Daniel survived the mouths of lions. Jesus was born of a virgin, healed the sick, blind, lame, walked on water, stilled the storm, fed the multitudes, and raised the dead. But Allah decided to give his final greatest prophet a book. That's Allah's will, so submit to it. Don't innovate. If Allah wasn't concerned that it makes Muhammad look inferior to previous prophets, then you shouldn't worry either. Wrong. Don't be among the doubters. To be a good Muslim, don't say that Muhammad did miracles.
So this is a little off topic. Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of on topic for that video, but it's not exactly what the video was talking about. I think it's funny how similar Muhammad is to Joseph Smith from Mormonism. Like, it's essentially a copy paste deal. Like, Joseph Smith saw uh, saw Islam and was just like, I am going to, or it's like uh, the meme. Oh, here's my homework. You can copy it, just don't make it obvious. And then it's like super obvious that it's the same fucking thing. Um, it's just a dude who claims that he was given like a prophecy from God, and the evidence for that is just trust me, bro. Like he's really got nothing, like no verifiable kind of anything. Um, it's cool how in Christianity, and I guess to the same extent Judaism, um, we can go back and like hear these stories and find evidence of said stories. For example, like the last video was saying, well, I guess it was, when I mean the last, I mean the middle video, the one like before the one we just watched, the last video, um, where it was talking about how we found like um, the what was it, the baths of Gethsemane or whatever. But like, there's all these little like historical details, right? It'll talk about like some city. We find that city. Um, they'll say something, specific about like some architecture or like I don't know, a person in history, and then it's like, oh, we end up finding that. Like how, for example, there was like a stone that talks about a King David of Israel. Like, oh, that's kind of neat. Or like how uh it says in, might be Leviticus. It's either Exodus, Leviticus, or Numbers. It's one of those three. How it says that you should place your curses on this particular mountain. And then we go and we find like a curse tablet on that mountain in, I think it's Aramaic. Yeah, that's where we're going with that. That sounds right. Um, yeah, just shit like that. And it's like, oh, okay, that's like, we can go ahead and be like, yeah. Or like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And how they were destroyed very violently. And then we find these two cities, and guess what? They were destroyed violently. And we've got like the historical evidence to be like, yep, this is most likely Sodom and Gomorrah right here. Yeah. So thank you to, if anyone watched, thank you for watching. Thank you to the YouTube crowd who's gonna like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one, which will probably be coming up almost immediately. Yeah. Bye-bye.